Alrighty, cool. So, big idea here for AP Biology, evidence of evolution and common ancestry. This is Unit 7, topics 5, 6, uh, I'm sorry, 6, 7, and 8. So this is Unit 7, topics 6, 7, and 8. So, evidence of evolution. There is overwhelming evidence that supports the theory of evolution. There are some primary sources, there's 3 of them. The first is fossil records. So we can look at fossil records, we can carbon date them, we can compare them. There's a ton of them. Comparative morphology is another one, comparing the morphological structure of different species, and biogeography is a third. So fossil records, let's do this individually. Sorry, pause here if you want to take notes. So we're going to go over these primary sources individually. There's a lot of vocab in this, so there's a lot of definitions in this. So fossils are the remains or traces of past organisms. Across the hall. The fossil record gives us a visual of evolutionary history over time. So we can take these fossils and we can line them up and it'll give us a story. We date these fossils by examining the rate of carbon-14 decay. This is what we mean when we say carbon dating. So we know that carbon-14 decays over a certain period of time, from carbon-14 to 13 to whatever, different isotopes of it. And by testing the type of carbon that we find in these fossil records, we can then go back and determine that this is how old a certain thing is. It also gives geographical data for the organisms that are found. So if we find a fossil in a certain part of the world, we know that individual species lived in that part of the world. Let's talk a little comparative morphology. So it's the analysis of structures of living and extinct organisms. And what we find is that there's a lot of homology, right? So these are characteristics in related species that have similarities even if their functions differ. So an example of homology here is like fish all have gills, right? Embryonic homology, many species have similar embryonic development. So you can look up embryo of a horse or a dog or any other mammal, and within those pretty much first few weeks, all embryos kind of look the same. And then vestigial structures. So these are structures that are conserved even though they no longer have a use. Humans have some vestigial structures, most notably is your appendix. So it's a structure that is in humans. Every human that is born has an appendix, but they don't have a use anymore. An example for this is like a tailbone or appendix. And we also have tailbones, right? So our spine ends at like kind of a point where there used to be a tail there. We have tailbones even though we don't have tails. And then we have molecular homology. So this is many species share the same DNA and amino acid sequences. We saw this in the last unit when we were doing transcription and translation. The adenines, the thymines, the guanines, and cytosines are the same in me and you, in plants, in animals. So this is sort of a piece of evidence that suggests that we all evolved from the same thing. Pause here to take notes. Cool. So let's take a look at some comparative morphology. When we're looking at homologous structures, these are characteristics that are similar in two species because they have a common ancestor. So taking a look up here, you can see the arm of a frog. A lot of the bones are the same too, right? So you have the radius and the ulna, which is seen down here, radius. This is cut off, but it says ulna, that's in a person. Same thing in cats, right? Same thing in whales, bats. So we all have the same kind of bone structure. And this is because we share a common ancestor. The example here is arm bones in many different species, right? Even in amphibians here, right? You can also see we have carpal bones, carpal, etc. Hang on, what's up?
Can you explain this question to me?
Yeah, hang on.
I didn't understand it yesterday.
Cool. So, moving on with comparative morphology, there are a few explanations for this comparative morphology, why we have the same bones as other mammals and even some amphibians, is this idea of convergent evolution. So similar adaptations have evolved in distantly related organisms due to similar environments. Then you have analogous structures that are similar but have separate evolutionary origins. An example in this is wings in birds versus bats versus bees. So the structures of those wings, they have separate evolutionary origins. Birds evolved differently than bats, evolved differently than bees, but they have the same analogous structures of the wings. Each species have wings, but the wings did not originate from a common ancestor. Okay, so that is your convergent evolution. That is your analogous structures. Pause here to take notes. So structural evidence indicates common ancestry of all eukaryotes. Many fundamental and cellular features and processes are conserved across organisms. So common ancestry, another kind of evidence of this is our DNA, right? Everything uses A's and T's and C's and G's. So it's safe to say that we all kind of evolved from the same thing. So some cellular examples, membrane-bound organelles. Remember, we're talking eukaryotes here. Common ancestry of all eukaryotes. The fact that endosymbiotic theory, where a cell engulfed another cell with both having a membrane. Linear chromosomes, right? So humans have linear chromosomes, mice have linear chromosomes, most mammals, most eukaryotes have linear chromosomes, which suggests, again, that we all kind of evolved from a common ancestor. And then introns in genes, right? Those are similar across different species. The introns that are created in the that then go on to become a protein are very similar in all species. Pause here to take notes. Now, biogeography is one of my favorite pieces of evidence when it comes to evolution. It's the distribution of animals and plants geographically. So, for example, species on oceanic islands resemble mainland species. Species on the same continent are similar and distinct from species on other continents. So, if you take a look, oh, they don't have this. If you take a look at the continent of Africa, it's shaped something like this, please forgive me. And then you look at North America and South America, they kind of like fit into each other, right? This kind of fits into here. Well, what scientists found was fossils of the same species in this part of Africa and the same in this part of Central or Southern America. So it's safe to say that at one point, these two land masses connected to each other and then split. And when it split, it created similar but distinct species on each continent. It's very interesting stuff. Let's do a quick review. What type of data provides evidence for evolution? There's 3 of them. Fossil data, biogeography, and morphology, comparative morphology. 2, in terms of natural selection, how can structures become vestigial? I love it. Answer the question. If you said, it may have been useful at one time, but maybe there was a mutation that rendered it useless. Therefore, it was conserved across generations, neither being selected for or against. Interesting. It was a neutral thing, so it just kind of stuck there. All right, let's put it all together. Populations continue to evolve, even today, over time. Genomes change. Examples of this, antibiotic resistant in bacteria. You can see it in people too. People are taller now than they were hundreds of years ago. That is us evolving. Insect resistance to pesticides is another example of when genomes change and they continue to change in the population. Pathogens causing new diseases is an example of genomic change. So there we go. Put it all together. That's the end of it. Pause here if you need to take notes. I'll see you in class tomorrow.